Thanks for coming by and checking out my YouTube today. What we're going to talk about today is my Cobra. This channel is about Cobras. My Cobra, my Hurricane Motorsports, is done. Well, 95% done. I picked it up for paint the other day. I think it looks pretty good. Let's talk about some details on that. I want to talk about details about paint and body and just general fit and finish, trying to make it look original kind of things. Stick around. Let's take a look. All right, so we're going to talk about some details here. The details we're going to talk about is a number of things. I want to go over some things I did because I really want this thing to look like an original 1965 Shelby Cobra 427 SC. Hey, everybody does these things different. Mine is by no means 100% accurate, but with the hood shut, there are very few things that are kind of telltales that it's not the real thing. Now, obviously it looks like a brand new car, and I don't look like a guy that has a $4 million toy. I get that. But I really worked hard at making this what it is. The body shop did a lot of things that really makes this thing, in my opinion, a very nice looking car. I've had a lot of questions about what it cost me for the paint and body work. Hey, we'll talk about some specifics on that too. But you got to stay till the end. No cheating, you can't look ahead. So let's go into some detail. So we're going to talk about a lot of little details that went into this to make it look the way it is. Some of the stuff from Hurricane, some of the stuff I wanted, some little things I worked on fabricating, a lot of stuff from the body shop. This is by no means an exhaustive list of everything that was done. In fact, I've got 2 full pages handwritten of notes of little odds and ends that the body shop did do to get this thing to where it is. And I might have even missed some things. They spent a lot of time on this. I just wanted to give you kind of a rounded picture of the details that go into this. That's what I've been trying to do on Pete's Snake Bike Kit. Tell you the good, bad, the ugly, and the details. Here's a little thing I wanted to add in is this windshield support. Well, they didn't just install that. There's a steel plate on the bottom of the fiberglass that the screws go into, so it's all more rigid. So looking at the back of the car, this body was made for round taillights. As you know, this ended up with rectangle taillights. So the back of the fenders had to be remolded, shaped, and blended so these rectangle taillights look like they belong on the car. And while they were at it, they thought they would make both of the taillights the same height and make them even with the license plate light. That was all a little bit crooked to start with. From there, let's look inside the fender openings. Inside of the fender, that line up there that you're looking at was like cut with a Sawzall. I mean, they were just chopped off. And what they did there is they built those back up, cut them to size, smoothed them out, made that an even radius all the way around on all 4 fenders. To me, that's a really nice touch. I don't have this area done up yet with all the aluminum shrouting that goes in there and the engine oil cooler, but it gives us a good view of the same thing here. Really nice clean line all the way around the opening of the radiator mouth and the engine oil cooler area. I think it looks nice. Here's a shot of the front. You may or may not notice that the marker lights look like they're pointing away from the headlights direction wise, and they are, because that's how the original cars were. You may or may not have noticed on a lot of kits those are actually pointing straight forward. Another thing that was part of being splashed off of an original car was the headlights were different heights off of the ground. Well, guess what, guys? That one we wanted to fix, so they took the time to make the headlight opening symmetrical right to left. Here's another nice touch. Where the trunk stay mounts right there was just, fiberglass, wasn't real strong, so they molded some sheet metal that fits nicely on the bottom side, and then they fiberglassed and epoxied that in so that now that's structurally very sound, and I'm not going to see cracks there. Let's take a look at the finish on the bottom side of the trunk. That's the bottom side. I think it looks pretty good. The seal on the deck lid's got to hit somewhere, so here we have the trunk sill, I guess we'll call it. I think it's a very nice job of finishing that all the way around. While we're talking about sealing surfaces, here's where the door will seal. And then this other lip, they added that in. That is actually for the carpet to butt up to. That was just kind of a sharp edge where the carpet really had no place to lay under. Here's a rod that holds the hood up, and that was just a hole in the fiberglass. What they did there is they made a nice little aluminum striker plate, and it's countersunk in, if you take a look. Where the body rolls over and mates up against the dashboard was another place that was a pretty rough cut. So while the body was off, they made that a very nice smooth edge. Here's another nice little touch. This stainless stud there is what's going to locate the hood so it can't jostle around right to left. Nice little polished aluminum striker plate that's recessed into the bodywork there. Here's a nice touch that actually came from Hurricane, is the hood's held down with button head that look like rivets. The hood scoops were originally on with rivets, but you couldn't get to the back ones because of the way the hood was shaped. So what's the answer? Put little tiny rib nuts inside the hood so that we can put those all the way around. Also, put rivets around the perimeter of the hood. These were on the big block cars only, and all my research says no two cars had the same spacing on those rivets. The driver's side and passenger side seats rubbed against the body there, so why not just re-radius the body there and make clearance for the seats? Here's the lip at the back of the body, junction to the cabin where the carpet will meet that, and that was a pretty rough edge also. Of course, they cleaned that up and made that nice and smooth. This radius as it rolls over the fender to the body was not symmetrical right to left. Again, copied from a handmade aluminum car. Guess what? They are now. They match those two radiuses right to left. Very similar situation up here. The windshield base and the radius of the cowl were different. And that gasket going across there was crushed in some places and almost catching air in others. Now they match. That was not a one-day project. So the way Hurricane designed the doors when they made them is it's two pieces of fiberglass. One on the inside, one on the outside. So the idea of those two pieces is that the seam of those two would be down here, where it's not real obvious. Oh, wait a minute, I can't see it. Oh, that's right, because the body shop completely smoothed that out. So that's a very nice, smooth radius all the way around the door. This next category I'm going to talk about has nothing to do with this car being original or not, or looking original or period correct. I like fabricated stuff that looks fabricated. To me, fabrication screams it's function built. Let's take a look at a couple of these pieces. So this little gizmo here is where the hood rod latches down. That spring lock is actually off of a Porsche of some sort. These pieces I doodled up to size and sent them over to Heat Tech, and they welded them up. So there's no spot on the top of the radiator for a cap, so here's a radiator cap. And I got all these pieces together and took them down to Spectre Design in Provo, and you can see it's above the level of the thermostat, it's above the level of the radiator, so it's a perfect fill spot. It's on an angle so that radiator cap sits level, and it's purpose built. I just like the looks of that. So here's a few more things that have got that fabricated look. Some of these are out of a catalog, and not all of these beads match exactly, but I really like the look of having, different fabricated things under the hood. To me, it looks like, again, they're purpose built or custom made. These valve covers are right out of a catalog, but they look fabricated. I really wanted the wheels and tires to look like the original deal. So very close replica. The wheels actually have knockoffs on it like they did originally, and a 15-inch wheel with a taller profile tire. Again, period correct. There are some things that will only make sense inside the confines of my own mind. I realize that. I was born in Venice. We actually lived there about 1.5 miles from the Venice shop, and I verified this with Pete Brock when I met him. Yeah, they drove these things right by our house. We heard them test driving them. So I wanted a Shelby American, Venice, California tag. Are you with me so far? Now, the first big block car, they started building it at the Venice shop, and they finish it at the LAX shop. So I've got a tag from both places. Another thing I really was passionate about is being able to look down the side of the car and see things like that. You know what I found out? That costs a lot of money. Hey, if you stayed to the end, I said we'd talk about some specifics on the bodywork and what things cost. Let's talk about some specifics. I showed you a lot of things that they did on my car that you may or may not have done on yours, wherever you take it. I think the shop I had mine done at is a high-end shop. They don't do okay paint jobs. I'm sure you've kind of noticed that. Different parts of the country, things cost different amounts of money. COVID happened. Everything costs more than it used to. The point is, I'm not really going to get hung up on how much this cost me. And have you ever heard the expression, if you got to ask, you can't afford it? Well, let me tell you a secret. I had to ask, and I couldn't afford it. This cost a lot of money, but guess what? That's what it looks like. I'm kind of happy with it. It actually put me in a financial pinch, but my wife, thank you very much, very patient about this. We decided this is what we're going to do. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and it is what I wanted it to be. So if I was to tell you how much it costs to do that specific set of bodywork and paint and all the detailing they did and told you the dollar amount, what's it going to mean? You're going to go to your local shop in Kansas and say, I want this car done like this. I want it for this amount. And by the way, the car's 1,000 miles away. It's all relative is my point. You guys, all of these are different. Stuff costs different places. But it's going to cost a lot of money if you want it really nice. I've looked at a lot of Cobras that shows I'm really happy with how this looks. So, sorry to break your heart. I'm not going to tell you the dollar and cents what it costs. Mostly because without a point of reference, it doesn't matter. I hope you build the one you like. I hope you find the body shop that makes your dream come true. And I hope you like it when it's done. That's how it worked for me. I hope that's how it works for you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.